You're about to listen to a BBC podcast, and I'd like to tell you a bit about the podcasts I work on. I'm Dan Clark, and I commission factual podcasts at the BBC. It's a massive area, but I'd sum it up as stories to help us make sense of the forces shaping the world. What podcasting does is give us the space and the time to take brilliant BBC journalism and tell amazing, compelling stories that really get behind the headlines. And what I get really excited about is when we find a way of drawing you into a subject you might not even have thought you were interested in. Whether it's investigations, science, tech, politics, culture, true crime, the environment, you can always discover more with a podcast on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, kickstarting your day with all the essential news and analysis you need. Tuesday, the 19th of December. Hello, I'm Phil Goodlad. Coming up today.
As a manager, he's only had two clubs, playing for Rangers, and Rangers, he got sacked, didn't he? So, what's last year?
Yes, I will get behind Beale. Like I say, I'm a Sunderland supporter. We'll get behind the manager, we always do.
Michael Beale says he took on too many responsibilities at Ibrox. But what sort of manager are Sunderland getting? And can he win over the fans at the Stadium of Light? Also,
calls to Szoboszlai! Szoboszlai opens his account in the red shirt of Liverpool!
We continue our look at Scotland's Euro 2024 opponents. Today we get the lowdown on Hungary. And
say what you want about your own team, but we've got a good league. We've got some very, very good players in this league, and I think he'll come to regret that.
As the fallout from Derek Adams' explosive interview rumbles on, would you like to see a 16-team top flight?
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
We're joined today by Ali Defoy, TV and radio sports broadcaster. Ali, how are you doing?
Good morning, Phil. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And Ben Botchak is with us, senior journalist and Hungarian football expert. Ben, hello.
Hello, good to be on.
Lots to get through with the guys. First, let's quickly run through today's Scottish football headlines. Michael Beale said he took on too much at Ibrox and got pulled in different places before being sacked by Rangers in October. The 43-year-old has been appointed Sunderland head coach following the departure of Tony Mowbray. There's big changes at Motherwell. Chairman Jim McMahon and interim chief executive Derek Weir announcing they're to step down from their roles as the club prepares for a fundraising initiative. Graham Jones, who has been a key member of Steve Clarke's backroom team, he's been promoted to the role of SFA Performance Director. And Lawrence Shankland has sent internet transfer sleuths into overdrive after apparently liking an official Instagram post congratulating Rangers on Sunday's League Cup victory.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
Ali, start with you. Michael Beale, saying he took on too much at Ibrox and got pulled in different places. Is that a surprising statement for a guy just weeks after being sacked from Ibrox?
I'd say no. I think you're probably going to have some feeling as to what the reason was, and you're wanting to obviously put yourself forward for other jobs, for example, the Sunderland job, so you're not wanting to kind of take all of it responsibility on yourself. Potentially, it looks like he's passed it around a little bit. But I was having a look at what the sporting director, if I've said this correctly, Christian Speakman was saying, and he was looking at Beale's reputation for developing players and his outstanding progression as a coach. And I think looking back at how he did at Rangers and down at QPR as well, I do think that actually his coaching is probably what he's best at. Getting a good eye for players. He saw Todd Cantwell, Raskin, Jack Butland, Dujon Sterling. Maybe at the time when he brought them in, they weren't quite performing at the level he maybe saw them at. But I do think he has a good eye for players. I do think he's well at developing them. So I think the role he's been given as head coach, I think he'll probably do quite well there. But going back to kind of what you said, I'm not surprised, no.
Bench, I wonder if Michael Beale, the role that he sees himself in football is more akin to an international manager. He doesn't seem to enjoy the day-to-day running of a football club off the training pitch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I cover Liverpool, so I remember him from his Liverpool days. And at Liverpool, he was really good just coaching the young players, bringing them through. He worked in the academy for many years. His background before that was at Chelsea as well, working in the youth system. So I think that's what he likes doing. He likes playing with younger players. He likes developing players. He likes getting the best out of them. And obviously at Sunderland, he'll be inheriting a sort of young squad. So I think that is a nice fit for him to go in there. And, you know, there's probably a system there where they've got a sporting director and other stuff. And I think he's more suited to that role probably to take that job on, and he'll have people supporting him and the recruitment side of things and stuff like that. And he can just focus on the coaching and getting the best out of that team.
What's the reaction from Sunderland fans and indeed an English football bench to Michael Beale's return?
Personally, I've seen excitement about him going to Sunderland. I think he did a good job at QPR. Obviously, at Rangers, things didn't quite work out, but in terms of the statistics, 72% win percentage is not a bad stat even as a Rangers manager. So I think there's excitement about him and, you know, the potential of this Sunderland team as well.
Ali, I wonder about Michael Beale's record with Rangers, because it was quoted yesterday, I saw on social media, quite a bit by Rangers fans who are basking in the glory of their win at Hampden on Sunday, and almost pointing fun at the fact that Michael Beale had such a good winning record, yet didn't achieve, in their eyes, as well as he might. Do you think that in the future, Rangers fans will look back at Michael Beale's era and maybe reevaluate it from what they're doing at the moment?
I think so. I'd like to think so, because when I was thinking about it myself this morning, looking at the players that he brought in and looking at the players that he was working with, they're now starting to maybe potentially see the fruits of his labour when he started bringing them in now with the goals that you're getting from Abdallah Sima at the moment, with Jack Butland, how well he's doing. So I think if you look back at the recruitment when he sort of first came in, I think you would maybe start to think, actually, I see the players that he was bringing in, the quality that he's got. Because let's not forget the amount of players he was working with Gerrard, Kemar Roofe, Connor Goldston, Borna Barisic, Scott Wright, Lundstrom Davies. These are all players that were in and around his time with Steven Gerrard. So I'm thinking, if you look back to his start, he didn't have a bad start. The first few games he had quite a good streak. So I think it would maybe be unfair to just focus on the last few games and when he left. I think, as you mentioned there, I think they will look back, and I hope they will look back and look at the players that he brought in and see maybe that's more of the role that he was good at and he did very well at, but maybe the other role, Sunderland will give him a chance to maybe kind of move into that managerial space, even though it's head coach, but get more of those qualities into his own career.
I can just hear people listening to this going, come on, Phil, times have changed. We've just won a new trophy. We've got a new manager. Why are you focusing on Michael Beale? But Bence, I just wonder finally, and quickly please, the Sunderland job has been a poison chalice for years now. We're always told it's such a big club, and yet managers have come and gone and almost seem to have failed at getting a tune out of Sunderland. How do you think Michael Beale will do?
I've got good faith in him, to be honest. I think I was quite optimistic about Sunderland heading into the season. I think they recruited well. They've got good young players. I think there's a lot of potential in this team, and I think it's a good fit. Michael Beale, he knows how to work with young players. He's got that past. He's got that background in youth football, and I think, yeah, he's almost. It seems like a perfect fit for them, and I hope he can get the best out of the team, and I hope he'll do well as well.
Over the past few weeks, we've been trying to find out a bit more about Scotland's opponents in Euro 2024. We've heard from Ramon Vega about Switzerland. Derek Ray filled us in on all things Germany. Today, we're going to find out a bit more about Hungary. Ben, when the draw was made, I was happy with Switzerland. I was ecstatic about Germany. Hungary caused me a bit of a head scratcher. What sort of team are they? And tell us something as to how they keep winning, because they're unbeaten in all their matches in 2023.
Well, I think it was the same for Hungarians as well. We were all delighted with Germany. We've done really well against them in the last few games now. I think we've beaten them once. We drew with them at the Euros. So, yeah, Switzerland as well. You were okay with that. But Scotland was the one that Hungary is afraid of.
We like to hear this, Bence. We like to hear this.
Because, although Hungary has been, like you said, getting results, a lot of them have been in the Nations League when Hungary is actually, it's a difficult team to figure out because Hungary is really good against the really good teams. And sometimes they can get caught out against the not so good teams. So even if you look at the recent results, Lithuania getting a draw there, kind of struggling against Montenegro at home until Dominik Szoboszlai came along. So we're not so good with those kind of teams. But then when it comes to beating the big guns, Hungary's quite good at that. I mean, we showed it against England, beating them 4-0 and stuff like that. So I think overall in Hungary, there was a bit of concern when it comes to Scotland because it seems to me Scotland plays a very similar style to the way Hungary plays. It's the quick sort of counter-attacks, really good defensive unit. Hungary is very similar in that sense. So it might be one of the most boring games in the group. But I think overall there is a good chance, in my opinion, given Germany's record recently, that these two teams could cause an upset and actually potentially might even get the top spot and the second spot in the group as well.
It's interesting that how art imitates life, because I remember, and it seems not that long ago, playing a certain football game on a certain games console, and Hungary were the whipping boys of world football. When you got to the European Championships and you drew Hungary, you thought, well, that's an easy 3 points for this Scotland team that was captained by Stephen Presley. It probably shows you how long ago it was. They've completely transformed things. They had that run of European Championships that they couldn't qualify in, and then suddenly they're back in vogue and playing really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to Scotland. That obviously the expansion of the European Championship has helped Hungary to qualify. But overall, Marco Rossi coming in, the national team manager, who's got a background of doing really well in Hungary. I think he's kind of got a similar profile to Steve Clarke, actually, in terms of, doing well domestically and then getting the national team job. He's got a proper Italian way of playing. He came in, organised the defence. He brought in a few players who, were eligible to play for Hungary, but maybe weren't really that keen or considering to join Hungary. For example, Willi Orban, who was eligible to represent Germany and Poland as well. Marco Rossi managed to convince him and bring him into the team, and I think he's kind of been like a Virgil van Dijk in the Hungarian national team. When he plays, Hungary looks a lot better defensively, and he's going to be a key player for at the Euros in the summer. But yeah, these kind of players just bring the Marco Rossi himself and the association have been working really hard to sort of look at the diaspora and look everywhere around the world and then bring in players of Hungarian heritage, which has helped as well. Callum Styles, who's not the biggest name in English football, but he's someone who strengthens Hungary as well.
Hey, Ali, the draw made a few weeks ago now, were you like me in seeing Hungary and thinking, ooh, I'm not sure about that?
I was. So I did a wee Google search, or other search engines are available. And I had a wee look. And I don't know if you've seen this about Scotland international John Tate Robertson when he went to MK Budapest. So when I was reading it, it said, and I'm going to read this just to make sure I get it correct, that he was considered to be one of the coaches responsible for development of football in Hungary between 1910 and 1920 by introducing physical preparations and technical innovations to the Hungarian game. So I'm thinking maybe some of the Scottish talent has been brought out through John Tate, who's maybe put that into Hungary. I don't know.
Ali,
I was trying to learn more. I'm like, I don't know.
I love the way that you're grasping at 100 years of history to try and point us forward.
But I think it's funny. Responsible for Hungarian football progression.
Ben Spotchak, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and let's hope that your prediction comes true. It'll be quite nice, Scotland, Hungary 1-2 and in the Euro group next year. Ben, thank you.
You're listening to the Scottish Football Podcast.
Finally, the fallout from Derek Adams and that extraordinary rant at the weekend that continues. Ali, I'm going to ask your opinion on this, because if you haven't seen it or you've heard it, he just simply slammed the quality of the Scottish Premiership, saying it's rubbish. I have to say, he said that after they lost a 97th minute goal at the weekend. Livingston boss David Martindale, he's now given his reaction, suggesting that an expanded top flight of 16 teams would help improve the standard. Ali, 2 quick questions. Is Derek Adams right? Is the standard of Scottish football rubbish?
Absolutely not. No, he's not right. I think maybe he just wanted to find something to say and had a bit of verbal diarrhea and just went off on one. I think maybe if he looks back and reflects on what he said, because if that's the case, surely if you were going to move from Morecambe and come up, you would have a little bit of a look at what the talent is, what you were coming to. So I'm thinking, if it's that bad, why did you come? maybe that's wrong of me to think that, but I don't think that is the case. I think Scotland's got a great product. It really, really does. I was listening to what Martindale was saying, and I do think I'm not disagreeing with what he's saying with an expansion for the league, but I don't think his reasons for wanting it are maybe quite right.
Top 16 team league, it's like Christmas. It seems to come around once a year. In fact, it's more than Christmas, because I've had top 16 flight about 3 times this year. Do you think we'll ever get to the point where the Premiership will increase to 14, 16 teams?
I don't disagree with the expanded league. I think there's got some really attractive thoughts to it. We are one of the smaller top flights in Europe, if you think about it. If you look at the English Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and all, obviously the Bundesliga, they've all got about 20, haven't they? So we're more in a line with Austria, Hungary, Switzerland to have only 12. So I think that there's potential to have that expansion. I think there could be some excitement. But when I was listening to David Martindale, and he was saying that his thoughts was you're playing the other teams maybe 5 times a season, depending on cups and within the league. You're playing the same teams and they get to know you inside out. Well, surely for me, then you need to work on your tactics, because they can't know them inside out if Hearts managed to beat Celtic at the weekend and if Aberdeen managed to beat Rangers. So I don't get that. But then also from a financial point of view, he thinks it will be better because you can more guarantee of staying up if there's more teams. However, if you're not playing Rangers and Celtic that many times a season, you're then going to lose potentially financially and ticket sales from that point of view. So I think there's lots of points to the argument, and I think it could be quite exciting. I think it could be, but I do look forward to those bigger games. But I also do like going to Arbroath. So
I would suggest that maybe some people would far rather go to Arbroath and get a big game in the top 16, but that's maybe just me. That's all we've got time for. My thanks to Ali Defoy and Ben Botchak, and thank you for listening. Keep getting in touch. The email scottishfootball@bbc.co.uk. We love your comments and questions about, well, anything at all that you want to chat about. Remember too, we're with you every day, so if you haven't done so already, subscribe, follow the Scottish Football Podcast. You won't miss an episode. My thanks once again to Ali Defoy and Ben Botchak. I've been Phil Goodlad, and we'll speak again soon.
Just a quick reminder, the Behind the Goals podcast is available every Tuesday with me, Rachel Corsey, and me, Leanne Crichton. It's your one-stop shop for our take on everything that's happening in the world of football. Just head to BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts and search for Behind the Goals.